So, the Interplanetary had a big seminar, and that seminar had new toys and a new sectorial. Let's have a chat about it. Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today we are going to be talking about the Infinity seminar that happened last week at the Interplanetary in Vigo, Spain. If you don't know about the Interplanetary, it is the big celebration of all things Corvus Belli, which happens in Vigo, Spain, the home of Corvus Belli, just about once a year. They missed last year, but prior to that, it's been pretty much every year. It includes a huge Infinity tournament, I think 160 plus players. I've heard 180, I've heard 140. We can go about 116, there or thereabouts. Plus a Warcrow tournament, the world's first huge one. They had that there too. So it's a really big thing where a lot of the Corvus Belli team would sort of turn up. I know that Carlos was there, I know that Hooper was there. All of the faces that you see online, you too could experience them in the flesh. It was last weekend, as I say, and they did the seminar, which if you've not seen a Corvus Belli seminar before, it is a sort of crystal ball look at what's coming up. And there were some surprises, there was some interesting stuff, there was some exciting stuff, and I just want to run through that today. Before I do, thank you to our members and Patreons and all that kind of good stuff that support the channel and make this happen. Special thanks goes out to Sean Colburn, Old Man Rogers, Chaos Discordia, Runic Wolf, Chris Sexton, Kaz for being my top level supporters. If you can, it would be great if you could support the channel, because then I can do more videos and you get more of this and all that kind of good stuff. We've got a lot coming up in the coming weeks, so it would be really great. But it costs about the same amount as coffee, and you get more videos, exclusive stuff, longer stuff. It's definitely worth it. I could be biased. Anyway, aside from that, let us get into what was announced and what you can look forward to coming out from Corvus Belli in the near future. Okay, so let's get into it. What I've done here is I put together the images that we got released from Corvus Belli. I've got the stats of the units, where they apply. We're just going to chat through what's coming out and how that looks and all that kind of good stuff. So, first up, we have Yuching. Now, we got their vehicle, okay, I'm going to slaughter every random weird Yuching pronunciation because I just, you know. So the Imperial Tactical Wing, got some lovely artwork, and we got the 3D renders. Now, if you're a fan of the vehicles, this is cute. This is definitely one of them. The fact that Yuching's getting one is nice. I think it's a good looking miniature. I'm still not sold myself on the vehicles. I'm just not. But as they go, it's another gorgeous Corvus Belli sculpt. I mean, they do some lovely work when they're doing their own stuff. It is really stunning. I do like it. As an actual unit, 28 or 35 points. The build that we saw there apparently comes with a mortar rifle, so it's the 35 point with X visor. 8-2 movement, as we're seeing with a lot of vehicles at the moment. Now, before we get into that actually, so this goes with Yuching, this goes with Imperial Service, and this goes with White Banner. So this doesn't go with Invincible Army. So no flyers for Invincible Army. I guess the armor's just too damn heavy, but fair enough. Vehicle, as I say, 8-2 movement. You can't close combat it, so fair enough. BS-12 is okay. Fist 12, Whip 13, 3 armor and 2 structure with 3 BTS. All good. Aerial, understandably. Dodge is cool. Courage is cool. Dodge -3 to enemy is good. Gizmo kit PH-13 is not bad at all. Mimetism -6 is not frickin' friendly, let's be honest. The fact that it comes with sensor, which a lot of, I'm kind of picking up a trend that quite a few Imperial Service units are getting that kind of thing. They're getting sensor and stuff like that. That's quite devastating, actually. If you're up against a an opponent who is running a camo heavy list or has hidden deployment troopers, being able to zoom something across the board 8-2 or 8 inches and then ping in zone of control with I think it's whip +6, so 19s you're rolling there. That's from memory, and probably, I think that's right with sensor. And it will reveal anything inside of zone of control of that unit, including things in hidden deployment. You can just discover everything quite easily, to be honest with you. The speed you can move with the super jump, that's quite devastating. That's decidedly unpleasant. Which is kind of what this bad boy's useful for, from where I'm sat. The EM carbine is fair enough. I'm not a massive fan of EM weapons. I'd rather have something a little bit more pokey, and equally the same with the multi-rifle. The fact that it's got an X visor, so that extends the useful range of the multi-rifle, is cool, and the +1 burst is cool. But I think I'd rather have like a decent high burst Spitfire or HMG on there, just something with a bit more punch. But then there's the argument you're going to get close to the enemy, so I don't know. I'm not massively sold on these vehicles at this point. I don't think they're not wowing me yet. But if they work for you and you can see something I'm not, do whack it in the comments below. But as it stands, it's cool. I'm just not sure that I'd ever run it. Not least because I play Invincible Army, so I'm not allowed it. But that's not the point. Anyway, next. Imperial Vanguard. I mean, they're pretty. So we've got the submachine gun loadout is what's coming. So what does that give us? Let's look at this unit as a whole. So first of all, this is only Imperial Service. I think that's to be expected. Because we've just had the redesign of Imperial Service, we can expect that the releases for Yuching that are coming up are going to be focused around that sectorial for the time being. That does entirely make sense. So medium infantry, 4-4 movement, CC 18, BS 13 is nice. Dodge 11 is okay, Whip 13 is okay, 2 arm, 6 BTS, you ain't hacking me, buddy, and 1 Vita is okay. So +1 attack on, sorry, +1 burst on the BS attack, +1 inch dodge, mimetism -3, specialist operative, stealth, terrain total, okay. But you can either take these as parachutists, so you're walking on from the board edge, or hidden deployment with infiltration. This is nice, this is quite tasty. With the submachine gun, you either have the option of taking a killer hacker or a standard hacker in parachutist with the firewall -3, or just a forward observer. Sorry, I missed the forward observers. A forward observer with hidden deployment infiltration. It's nice. The EMRAT is nice too. The flash pulse is nice on the forward observer. The fact they come with decharges is good. These are a nice little specialist bundle. The silence pistol, I think, also could be useful, especially if you're deploying for sort of forwarded infiltration or you're coming in parachutist. 24, 26 points for a hacker is kind of tasty. It's interesting actually because we have the second parachutist, the hacker with hacking device, is 0 SWC at the moment. So that's a free SWC parachuting hacker with a firewall built in and decharges. I mean, the submachine gun's quite close range, but if you are infiltrating or you are parachuting in, maybe that's not so much of an issue. Especially with a +1 burst, maybe that's not awful. BS 13 is pretty tasty. So I think it's a handy little unit actually. I think that will be an unpleasant surprise when it suddenly appears where you weren't expecting it or where you didn't think it was going to arrive. If you want to go hunting in your enemy's backfield, SMG is not necessarily the weapon to do it with, but if you need to take down other hackers, if you need to take down remotes and stuff like that, then the killer hacker / hacker, they're going to do some work for you. If you're doing something like supplies, or you're doing something that requires you to get your specialists on the midline, you could just duck and appear there. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's a quite tricked out little unit. And it's quite focused actually. Sometimes at the moment I feel that some of the units coming out from CB are, as I've said to my local guys, and units, where it has this and this and this and this and this, and they're not necessarily focused. This is actually quite focused. It's a specialist, it's designed to get up the board, it's equipped to get up the board, it wants to play up close and personal, it can complete missions like it's going out of fashion. Yeah, I mean, like BTS 6 on a unit with a firewall -3 mod with hacker and killer hacker, that's quite potent. That is quite chonky. I approve, and I think it's a pretty miniature as well. It's a nice looking miniature, so yeah, we like that one. That's nice. The Jinwei, the Forbidden Troops. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the look of that. I've got to be honest. Aesthetically, I'm a bit whelmed. I get where some of the design elements come from. I do. I see it. That's great. It's just not for me. It's no. You know, packing an emitter or packing ADHL, It's cool. I mean, tactical rock, yay, or tactical box and rocks. In fact, it's a box and rocks. My goodness, what rare quality. It's fine. I just aesthetically that doesn't really. It doesn't ring my bell or float my boat. Is that Colossus with Anne Hathaway, where she's like puppeting the monster? It reminds me of that. One of my other friends had a similarly derogatory comparison. It just, I don't know. It's not working for me. But from a profile perspective, again, Imperial service only. This is heavy infantry, 4-4 movement, CC 18, BS 12, Phys 10, Whip 13 is not bad. Arm 2 and Structure 2 with 3 BTS is tasty. Immunity to BTS is nice. +1 burst on the BS attack is nice. Religious troop, yep. Remote presence, yep. Sensor is tasty. Sixth sense is tasty. This is nice. This is quite a survivable unit. However, it's all in keeping with that sort of police force type feel. The only lethal weapon that this carries is the heavy pistol. Adhesive launchers, riot stoppers, arc-light cannon, emitter, these are all... I mean, yeah, it's going to stop the opponent, but it's not going to kill it. If you hit it, I mean, if you hit it with the emitter, I think from memory that's EM, so that's going to isolate you and all this kind of stuff, which is great, so it's going to take it out of the order pool. But if you hit it with an ADHDL or a heavy riot stopper and you're successful, you glue it to the floor. The order still goes in the pool, the unit is still alive, it's still functional, it can reset itself out. Unless you then go up and heavy pistol it to death, I guess. That's a whole level of commitment. But I don't know, I get it from a fluff perspective, I get it from a lore perspective, while these units are non-lethal. I just like killing my targets. I'm just a little bit more violent than that. So overall, I mean, 18, 19 and 23 points. It's not expensive. The triangulated fire is nice on the emitter version. I don't know. I'd want it to kill stuff, and it isn't going to. It's going to glue it to the floor. That's where I'm at. Don't really like the miniature. Don't really like the job that it does. But hey-ho, it's not everything's for me, and I'm not doing the sectorial, so, you know, what do you guys think? Are you a fan? I just know. Anywho, Nomads. It ain't crazy if it works. Oh, yeah. So, what did the Nomads get? First, switches grouper. This is an interesting unit. So most of the stuff that we've got here is for Tanguska, which is nice. I'm a Tanguska player. It's about time we had some good stuff. So the switches, they start off normal, and then in ARO and in active phase, you can do a whip check to transform them into a murdery killy person. That's the theory. And it's very cool. They have the distinct profiles, so light infantry, Tanguska, and generic Nomads. This was taken from Tanguska. This profile is taken from Tanguska, so just bear that one in mind. It may be slightly different in normal, generic. So 4-4 movement, CC 15, BS 12, Phys 10, Whip 13, 1 arm, 1 structure, courage dogged, and transmutation. So, okay, that's not awful. But if you get that whip check off, then it goes to 6-4 movement, CC 23, BS 13, Phys 14, 3 armor, 3 BTS, still the 1 structure. It suddenly gets an X visor from somewhere, so we're better at long range. Berserk +3, so it's even more deadly in close combat. Courage, dodge +2 inches, dogged, immunity to BTS, and martial arts level 1. This will eat things in close combat when you get their enhanced profile off. It's not awful in its standard format, but if you can get that whip off, Whip 13, then you have a monster on your hands. It goes full Hulk mode and choppy, and someone needs to paint this as Hulk. Someone does. When it's normal version, just like a normal person, Hulk, when it's got to be done. I can't remember what loadout it comes with. Let's have a look. AP submachine gun. So the version that comes in the box is either the Forward Observer or the version that comes with Mad Traps for 18 or 19 points. This is not awful. A viral CC weapon, also not awful. So AP submachine gun, Flash Pulse, EM grenades, and then a Mad Trap or Forward Observer. So it's either a specialist or it can put down glue monsters. BS attack +1 burst Thunderbolt is also quite tasty. That's also quite nice. I kind of Mentally, I want, when it goes full Hulk mode, for the BS to go down and the CC to go up. I think that would make more sense in my head. The fact that everything gets better when it goes Hulk mode doesn't necessarily match in my brain, but fair enough. And then we have the FTO. So we've got 3 FTOs that can be put into fire teams. But a combi rifle, Thunderbolt, or AP submachine gun, or AP submachine gun forward observer. These are your options. I think it's an interesting unit. I think it's giving quite a crunchy, potentially specialist if you take that forward observer with the AP submachine gun. The fact that you suddenly have this very capable close combat unit, you know, CC23 with the +3 Berserk, with the martial arts, with that PS6 viral CC weapon, is not to be sniffed at. It's going to do some work. The PH14, so you can dodge on your way in and +2 inches on the dodge, is nice. Firing this at someone to go and do a mission, I can see it. And for 18 or 19 points, I think maybe it's going to find a home in some lists. I think she's got some work to do, and I think it's quite a flavourful unit. The interesting thing with Tanguska is where Bakunin is just completely bonkers, and Corregidor is very focused on the stuff they do. I feel like sometimes there's less, not none, but less sort of crazy bonkers flavour inside of Tunguska, because, you know, we have the Papa Tactica there in there, and there's Nautica, but the rest of it is fairly, not completely, but fairly non-bonkers. Having switches into this mix is kind of cool, actually. It's going to give a very Nomad kind of, yeah, we're still crazy type feel to things, and I'm liking that. That works for me. That's cool. So I think I'm going to end up with one of these. The AVA2 for Tunguska. Would I take 2? Probably not, because I always struggle. There's always more stuff that I want to put into Tunguska than I have points for, so there's that. But yeah, that's quite a handy little unit. It's very flavourful. Very nice. Then we have the Triggermen. Also Tunguska. Okay, fine. I don't know what happened with this. This is the one they released. I think this is supposed to have like other stuff with it and it wasn't finished, or I don't know. Anyway, so this is the bot that goes with the Triggerman. As you see, stood behind him. All kinds of badass. Then we have the multi-sniper rifle variant, and then we have a K1 combi on the bot. So, let's talk about this guy. So again, this is generic, and this is Tunguska. Heavy infantry, 6-2 movement is quite pokey. CC17 is okay. BS13 is nice. Fist 12 is okay. Whip 13 is fine. 4 arm, 6 BTS and 2 Vita. Yeah, that's a thing. Silhouette 4, more on that in a minute. Coupled with the 360 visor, it gives that -3 to CC attack. Now the great that -3 is kind of nice, but I don't think I'd want to get into close combat with this guy. That's not really a thing that I'd want to do. Immune to shock is nice. Mimetism -3, also very tasty. This is very much a gunfighting unit. Regeneration. So if you do put it down, if you do chew through those 2 Vita and you actually put him down to unconscious, which you can't use shock to take him out of the box. You couldn't do anyway because he's got more than 1 wound, but you can't just drop him off. He could potentially regenerate and stand back up again. So you need to make sure that this guy is in the dead state. You can't just rely on him being unconscious, because 65% of the time he's going to stand back up. And stealth, so he can get in position and not be seen. So we have multiple profiles here. We have, so in the box, we have a K1 combi and we have a multi-sniper. I'm not sure how they fit together. Because if the bot's got 1 weapon and the miniature's got another, I don't know how that one works. I'm sure all will be explained. Maybe this profile will get a rework before it drops. Who knows? So BS stack +1 burst is very much appreciated. The multi-rifle and Emirat with multi-pistol for 40 points. That feels a bit expensive. I know it's arm 4, I know it's Mimetism, I know it's regeneration, but for a multi-rifle that feels a bit heavy. The multi-sniper rifle, the burst 3 multi-sniper rifle, is never to be sniffed at. 1.5 SWC and 44. That to me makes more sense with the 360 visor, with the mimetism, with the regeneration, with the arm. That kind of sits better for me. The K1 combi, if you've not seen the K1 before, that just ignores armor. So it doesn't matter what the armor is of your target, it counts as armor 0, which is horrific if you're coming up against that, which be a stack plus 1 burst, plus 4 deployment 4 inches, the multi-pistol and a silence pistol for 45 points. I find that more acceptable than I do the multi-rifle. The multi-rifle seems a bit expensive to me. I know there's the different ammo types. I know that, and host plus 1 burst. I know all of that, but the K1 just flat out ignoring armor. We do not care. Plus the plus 1 burst and that 4 deployment to get him up the board in closer range to make advantage or take advantage of the range bands of the combo rifle up to 16 inches. That makes a lot more sense to me. A trigger man with neurosynetics, so that is burst 2 in ARO. Just reverses things, so it's burst 1 in active, burst 2 in ARO. Okay, fine. They're an interesting unit. I think, would I take one? I think I'd take one out of novelty. I think I'd almost certainly always take the K1 combi. I'm not a huge fan of dedicated ARO pieces because it removes a degree of tactical flexibility from you. If you take the neurosynetics unit for 43 points and 1.5 SWC, so quite nearly 15% of your total army points in one miniature, that can only fire once per order in your active phase. I struggle to justify that. That doesn't feel like a good choice to me. I prefer the active phase pieces, and in that situation, the K1 combi rifle is very tactically flexible. I can put it down on the ground, I can put it 4 inches forward, I can move it upfield to get into good range, I can use that burst 4, I can ignore the armour, it's got the 360 visor, got the mimetism if I stick it in cover with -6 to be hit, with 7 armour effectively in cover. And if they do manage to hit me and they do manage to grind off those 2 Vita, you fall prone and then you stand back up in the states phase because of regeneration, because of course you do. I think that the K1 version is horrific. I would be interested to see how the multi-sniper variant did, but I don't tend to run multi-snipers. I don't tend to run snipers at all. They're too easily to get under the range band of. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting unit, although the only thing that I don't think that the word dislike is right. I think that I'm not so keen on is the growth of the Silhouette 4 profile. So if you haven't seen that, that is a 55mm base with a couple of miniatures on. So what I assume we're going to have here is the Triggerman and his robot on one base, which is why I'm kind of like, how could they have 2 different weapons if they're both on the same base? I'm sure it will make sense later. But again, this was taken from the Tanguska side of things, so it may be different in generic. But so you end up with 2 miniatures on one base, on one 55mm base, which is quite big, and we've seen that quite a bit. Here we are. Veron's got it. The Demonist has it. So we've seen this a couple of times, and it was novel, but I'm not sure that I like it. Because for this kind of base, for 2 miniatures, I kind of want to put a story around it and make a storied base. And for me, Infinity doesn't lend itself to that. Especially when, you often, like with Andromeda from LF there, they are connected, the miniatures are physically connected. You can't really make them on different levels without cutting around metal miniatures, which a good friend of mine has great times doing that. And I have the greatest of respect to him for doing that, but I can't see me modding miniatures, metal miniatures. It's just not fun. So you end up with this just big flat 55mm, couple of miniatures stood on it, no real massive story around it. I don't mind it so much with tags because they are the story, but with this I kind of want it to be a bit more. And I don't know, I'm not so keen of these sort of scale bases and the miniatures on them, but that is just me. Apparently we're getting more of them, so who knew? Anyway. Next up, we have a redesign of the classic. So the Anaconda tag. I think that was N2 the Anaconda came out in its current format. It's got a redesign. It's got a big new choppy in its hand, which is nice. And the HMGs, or the probably Spitfire, I imagine. AP Spitfire, yep, is looking suitably chonky. The pose is nicer from a certain perspective. It certainly looks like it's going to F somebody up, and that's cool. I'm going to have nostalgia for the old one. I am, because it's just, I love the old Anaconda. I've owned several. I've got one in the other room and I need to put it together. I love the Anaconda. But this is a cool miniature, I have to say. I wasn't, when I first looked at it, I had the whole, that's not an Anaconda, or Anaconda looks like this. Now that I've had times for it to grow on me, it's like, yeah, I'd probably buy one if I had availability to, but I don't. I only have AVA 1, so I'm sticking with the classic, but that is a very nice miniature, and I think it's quite cool. I like those. It's got an energy to that pose which some tags recently haven't. They've either been too much or too little, and this, for me, works. This looks like a big-ass robot in combat. And I like that. I think that's how it should be. So, stat-wise, I don't know whether this is going to get reworked. It's had a bit of a rework already. That you can see that with the Thunderbolt in there. But whether this will get changed up or not remains to be seen. So you can take this in Druze, you can take this in White Company, and we can take this in Tanguska. So this Tanguska player, hell to the yes. Nice cheap tag. 60 movement, CC 18, BS 13. For a cheap tag, that's not bad. Phys 16 is fine. Whip 13 is fine. Arm 7, BTS 6, and 3 structure is tasty. ECM guided -6 is okay. Standard BS tag SR -1, so the effective 1 additional damage for when you shoot stuff with that big ass Spitfire makes a lot of sense. Courage, dodge, Phys 11 makes sense. Gizmo kit, Phys 11 makes sense. Attack aware, yep, and transmutation escape system -2. So if you do manage to bring this down, you have only just begun the problem, because you have released the beast. We shall look at the beast in a minute. Loadouts, AP Spitfire with heavy rocket launcher and Thunderbolt with AP. Why the hell not? That's what I asked myself. The Anaconda has never been underarmed, and it continues to be just as bonkers as it ever was. 1.5 SWC and 57 points is not bad for all of that. That is quite a good price for that volume of stuff. Then we have the heavy machine gun, light shotgun plus 1 burst, because yes, and a Panzerfaust for 1.5 SWC and 56 points. Why not? It's a nice model. And that profile is just, I think for 56 points, getting an HMG with the SR -1 on a BS 13 platform with attack aware, with a Panzerfaust to back up. And if anything's stupid enough to get close to you, you can slap it around with a light shotgun. That's great. The AP Spitfire and heavy rocket launcher and Thunderbolt AP, though, I think will be my go-to weapon, because you can deal with pretty much anything with that. If you need to deal with heavy armour, you've got the AP on the Spitfire up close, the Thunderbolt if it's longer range, and then you've got the heavy rocket launcher just to put down pie plates on anyone that's grouped up together. And the lightly armoured, just burn it all to death. Why the hell not? The Anaconda, I've always loved the Anaconda, I continue to do so. The Unknown Painter is a good friend of mine, and he did an Anaconda for a tournament, raffle prize even, many years ago, and that was stunning. I have to see if I can find a picture of that and stick that up with his permission on Patreon and on YouTube for members, so you can see how good they can look. That was gorgeous. But yeah, I think that's an awesome, cheap-ish tag, which is going to do some work. But it's not done when you kill it, because the operator pops out. Because it does. And when the operator pops out, it comes with a Spitfire, because it does. I love that. That's really, really freaking awesome. And there's one big change here that's worth noticing. So this is now a Silhouette 2. This must have an error on it. Oh, no, I get it. So I thought the Vita 3 was an error, but what happens is, if you're not familiar with the Escape System 2, when you've lost to the structure of the Anaconda, the pilot gets ejected. And that's what that means. So the pilot will only, if it gets ejected, it will land with 1 Vita, effectively. You can always get out and wander around. You can walk out of the tag yourself by choice. You can spend skills to do that one, but if you get ejected because the main chassis gets destroyed, then your operator will land with 1 Vita remaining, 2 wounds on it, effectively. So, move 4-4, CC13, BS12, Fizz 10, tag pilot, missed leg day. Whip 13 is cool, Arm 1 understandable, BTS 3 is nice, Silhouette 2. So then you gain a little Spitfire with BS 12. This is not a bad thing. In addition to that, you have the Courage, you have Specialist Operative, and it retains TAC Aware. So you're still going to get that extra order lumped in there. What I find interesting at the bottom as well, in those profiles, once you've got the boarding pistol and CC weapon, they still have the CC cost on the right. If memory serves, in N4, when they ejected, because the tag was destroyed, their cost value was 0. So if you were trying to hold a quadrant with them, if you were in like a quad control game where you need more points in a quadrant, the pilot didn't count. And that kind of sucked, because you went from having a 50, 60, 70 point tag there with the Iguana or the Anaconda to having 0. Even though you still had the guy with the gun, he wasn't contributing anything to the war effort. So it's kind of cool that we have the points back for that now. And the Anaconda operator, my Anaconda operator in N2 and N3, she always did some work. She always did some violence. So yeah, we're getting another one. It's going to happen. Mistakes will be made. So, Hack Islam. It looks familiar. See if you can see what I mean. What could this be? It's an aero unit. There's a pilot. Oh, look. Dune, anyone? If you've seen Dune, you know what that is. You do. And it's great. I think it's really cool. I think like the pilot's position at the bottom there, riding it like a bike, is really cool. I think it's an awesome design. And I don't collect Hack, but I want that. However, we're going to talk about, why I'm not so keen on this in a second. Or what area this I'm not so keen about. But my inner Dune fan is like, yeah, yes, that's cool. Almost tempted to buy one just on general principles. And the pilot as well, looking very cool. So how are they to play? So again, bizarrely, this is generic Hack and Kapu Kalki. Now, Kapu Kalki at the moment is a little bit of a ginger stepchild. It's not getting a lot of love from Corvus Belli. So the fact that this fits in there, okay, fine. Vehicle, regular, 8-2 movement, BS12 is nice, Fizz 12 is nice, Whip 14, because Hack, Armour 5, BTS 6 and 3 structure. Is it a flying tag? Yes, it is. Albedo -6, so you've got MSV, you ain't shooting this bad boy. Courage Dodge -3 is cool, no cover of course, Super Jump Propulsion, standard, Super Jump 3 standard. Terrain total, transmutation, and escape system. So we're back in the land of the Anaconda with you lose 2 of those structure and twink, out comes the goodies. Spitfire, smoke grenade launcher, and SWC 1.5 with 37 points for the Zabak. Now it's kind of cool because with that smoke launcher, it means that the only real threat, if you popping out smoke like it's going out of faction, to you is MSV. And then you have Albedo, so you don't care about MSV because you're -6 to hit. That is a nasty, nasty piece of equipment for 37 points. This is possibly the first flyer, first vehicle that I've seen for Infinity that I look at that profile and think, I can see how I can make that work. And my opponent won't appreciate it. I will, they won't. That is very, very tasty. Is this an indication that we're going to get new Kapu Kalki? Who knows? Maybe. We live in hope. And again, if you take those 2 structure off, out pops your Zabak operator, 4-4 movement, CC 14, BS 12, so still just as good a shot. Fizz 10, still Whip 14, Arm 3, so still Armour 3, still BTS 3, or will be if you eject down to Vita 1, Albedo -6 is still there. Not a specialist though. It is not a specialist. But it does carry a Spitfire and a boarding pistol for 37 points, and it still has the value next to the pilot, so you're still going to score in quadrant control games with that unit. That is a really handy profile. The fact that it's only Kapikauki and that it's only generic hack, I guess, you know, it's good they get some unique stuff, and it is a specific Kapikauki unit. Looking at the unit's name on the side, that's kind of funky. But I was saying I was going to have I kind of have a bit of it about that. My inner geek loves this. I really, really do. But one thing that I don't necessarily like that much about some of the ways that Infinity goes sometimes is using pop culture to influence their design. Because when I look at the Yuching vehicle that we had at the start, that is, from Ramsat, that is Corvus Belli design. It is unique, it's interesting, it's flavourful, it's cool. It is their own stuff. It is in-universe, it's the world that we play in. That's Dune. That here, all of this is Dune. And I love Dune, but I'm not playing Dune. I'm playing Infinity. And I feel that CB waters down their own brand, their own game, by nodding and winking at us with, did you see this? Isn't this just like? And I get that's where it came from, because as I understand it, the original RPG, they used a lot of pop culture references in there, and they folded that into their wargame. And that's where it's always been. There have always been pop culture references inside of Infinity. I just think that, I feel that. Now with the 5th edition, now with well over 10 years of this game behind us, there is enough distinct, unique feel in this system to just do their own thing and stop nodding and winking. When they do their own stuff, it's a damn sight prettier than when they nod and wink. And this is pretty, don't get me wrong. But I don't need a Dune flyer. I may possibly buy it. I won't buy the rest of the army from it. It would be nicer if this was, yeah, I can see, before anyone says, yeah, the elements of the Magariba that's in there as well. There's bits, but it's not pure Corvus Belli, and I wish that it was, because that's what I play Infinity for. That's why I love their miniatures, because of their design and their unique look and feel. Just for me, we don't need the pop culture stuff anymore. What do you guys think? Do you love, I know there's a lot of people out there that really love the pop culture stuff. Do you? Or do you think it's time they did their own stuff, their own unique look and feel for everything? Because, you know, everything else they're doing, they're making up as they go along. That's just my view. What do you guys think? Anyway, on from the Zyback and my impending purchase of Hack. ITS 17. We have a new... it's a new season. Yeah, I amuse myself. We have an Season 17 tournament pack on the way. We have a new spoon, which is lovely. We have new dice. We have new everything, which is great. And then we have Sasha. So, Sasha's coming in. This is a non-aligned armies unit. It's a treasure hunter, NA2. Don't know which armies in non-aligned armies it's going to go in. I don't know which armies it's going to be in yet. I haven't watched the studio update to see if it's mentioned in there. It may well be. If it is, whack it in comments. But yeah, it's a treasure hunter, and it's going to be an exclusive miniature. I think it is really nice that this year, this coming season, the exclusive miniature is going to be for non-aligned armies. They've been trimmed back heavily from where they were with the loss of JSA and some of the other ones being end of life, but I think it's really cool that non-aligned armies are getting their own unique mini. The buddy design is a look, and it's very CB. And that is not necessarily a pop culture reference. That's something unique. I want it, sort of. It's great. It's cool. A very good friend of mine is disproportionately excited over the concept of the bunny lady that's coming in. So it's got to be a good thing. Looking for the visor on the helm, I'm guessing we're either looking at Hacker, maybe MSV, but I think more likely a Hacker, judging by that little hand doing the thing. So yeah, it's a cool miniature, distinctly CB, and will I be buying a tournament pack just to get it? No. But if I win one, will I be disappointed? No. It's cute. It's novel, so it's nice to see the unique side of CB out in the world again. And ITS 17, awesome, incoming, guys. And now we have the new army with the same strapline for the last slide because I didn't update this one. A new army. Yeah. Combined army next wave. Yeah. So we know that a whole bunch of the Steel Phalanx lads, Achilles and Patroclus and all these lads, have transferred to the combined army because of all of the story. And if you haven't seen the story, it's in the book over there. Read that, check that out. For you guys out there at the moment who play Steel Phalanx, try to take it personally. That, you know, this was going to happen. Just let it go. It's fine. They've left. They're not coming back. It's fine. So we have a new sectorial army from Combined Army. This will take Combined Army to 4 sectorials with Morats, Shaz, Onyx, and Generic. So they will have a 4th sectorial, 5 armies in total. Yeah. I mean, speculation-wise, it's going to be the home for the guys that have the traitors who've left LF. Let's call a spade here, people. The traitors who've left LF and joined the Combined Army, they're going to be in that group, and you're going to have a world built around that. Cool, I get it. They need to do something with those. Having their own sectorial kind of makes sense. However, Combined Army is pretty bonkers at the moment. As I understand it, at the Interplanetary, I saw some figures, and you kind of had the 3rd most popular army, there was 7 of it. The 2nd most popular army, there was 7 of it. And generic combined army, there was 16. So there were more combined army players at the Interplanetary than the 2nd and 3rd placed, most frequent armies played, combined. Yeah. I'm not sure that combined really needed a new sectorial. I think they have a lot of variety and diversity. I think Onyx is in a bit of a weird place currently. When you look at that, a lot of people are playing generic but not playing Onyx. Shaz and Morats are doing well. That, you know, you play Angry Space Monkeys or you play the Gribbly Gribblies. They're always out there doing their own thing. But Onyx is in a bit of a weird place. You get people who are incredibly strongly religious about playing it, and you get people who are not and don't. Would it have been better to revamp Onyx and to rework Onyx a little bit? Maybe. But more than that, we have we have other armies that need, in my view, more than Combined does. You know, we had the new Morats came out a couple of years ago now. We're about invariably to get the traitors from LF. We're going to get new models for those. That's going to happen. That's on the way. Okay. So we know we're getting new stuff for Combined. We know that's happening. We know they're in ascendancy. We know they're getting played well. What would I have liked to have seen? I would have liked to have seen a 3rd sectorial for LF. I know that Steel Phalanx was redone a little while ago, but it would be nice to have a 3rd option for LF. More than that, I would have preferred, controversially, to have seen Ariadne get redone. Because I think that Ariadne is in a really rough place at the moment. I think that they're in kind of a tough spot, and they need, in my view, some love. We know that we've got US Ariadne coming. I'd have been more excited to see US Ariadne drop at this point. I would. I think, and I'm not a fan of US Ariadne, but I think that the Ariadne players need something. I think that the armies as a whole are kind of in a little bit of a neglected space in N5, and they have been since the start of it. I think it would have been more useful to see, if not the redo of US Ariadne, then a rework of some of the core concepts behind Ariadne, just to make them a bit more competitive, to make them a bit more attractive. I think that Ariadne's kind of lost its way a little bit since the introduction of the 15 trooper cap, because speaking for myself, I used to play Mirror Vision and I would play 20, 25 miniatures. And yes, I did it in a timely fashion and it was all fine. But when we got that 15 unit cap, that kind of stopped being an option. And that was my thing. Well, that was a lot of players that I knew's thing with Ariadne, is you put a lot of stuff down on the board, safe in the knowledge that most of it was going to be a red grease spot before turn 2. That was fine. The guys were going to die and we knew it. It's not an issue. Then we got the cap in and you couldn't really do that anymore because you couldn't spam. Like, I mean, what? I used to run a full core of Metro HMGs. Because I think it was less than 60 points for 5 guys with HMGs. Now they're BS10, but at that point they were in a core that gave them +3 to their BS as well as the range bonuses. You get these guys up to BS16. I mean, it's pretty good with the HMGs. And then anyone looked at them funny and they died. No armor, no real ability to dodge. They were great, and that's what they were there for, and that's how it worked. And I feel that when we got that cap limit, you couldn't really do that anymore. So that kind of feel for Ariadne of lots of warm bodies on the board and hopefully some of them will survive isn't there anymore. And I think if they change Ariadne in ways that are make it more likely that you can bring really strong, powerful units at the 15, they lose the flavour and it becomes more like a variant of Pano, a variant of this, a variant of that. So I think it would have been nicer to have got a rework of Ariadne, because they're in such a weird place at the moment, than a new combined army sectorial. Do I think that it's the end of the world and terrible? No, it's toy soldiers. I do not. before somebody accuses me, because this has happened a lot recently. Apparently I'm emotional in my videos, and apparently it looks like the stuff that I disagree with, my world is ending. It's not, it's toy soldiers. I'm sorry. It's not. I have views. Anyway, so I think it'll be interesting to see what they come out with. It'll be cool, but I think that if somebody had asked me, where do we need a new sectorial? That ain't it. That's not it. That's definitely not it. Even Toha would have been better. But we shall see what happens. It will certainly be interesting to see what they bring out. And that was the last announcement that we got for the seminar. So yeah, I think it was an interesting one. I think building, you built heavily on the Imperial service side of things. I think the additions to the Nomads were very, very cool. I think the hack one, as I say, personally very cool, but I think there was a better way. And yeah, the announcement of ITS, cool. The announcement of the new combined army sectorial, okay. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of it. Not what I have chosen, but, new stuff, new toys, who knows, could be amazing. In addition to that, there was a discussion of the replacement of Infinity Army with a more social app, which will combine lots of more stuff coming in, and that's going to go into a beta phase. Summer this year. Anyone seen it yet? I've not seen it yet. But there was a few screen caps and stuff that I saw of it, which looks fine. It was mostly focused around Warcrow, so we shall see what occurs. I love Infinity Army. I think it's one of the best apps out there. That could be because I've been using it so long, but I think it's a really, really cool app. So I hope that they retain and build on the functionality they've got. Don't ground up it. If they start from the ground up and try and reinvent the wheel, there's always the risk that they make changes for the sake of making changes. So CB, don't do that. The core is good. Just build on that. It'd be great. But yeah, I think it was a good seminar overall. I think we've got some cool toys coming up, invariably coming quite soon. What do you guys think? What was your favourite? What was your least favourite? What did you look at and think, that's going to be amazing, I have to have that? What do you wish was included? And which, given the choice, sectorial would you revamp, or faction would get a new sectorial? Which one? Let me know in the comments below, and we shall thrash it out and discuss why I'm wrong. I look forward to that. Thank you all so much for watching. Do please like, share and subscribe. Get it out there, push it out into the world. I appreciate that too. And thanks for watching. I will see you all again soon. Goodbye.